Okay, so for the benefit of the recording again, welcome to this Spotlight on Rise graduate job session. So today we've kind of had the launch of the latest round of recruitment of Rise, which is a Sheffield-based scheme offering graduate roles. Again, one of our guest speakers is going to explain a little bit more about Rise and an overview of the programme. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that point of view for the introduction. But what I will do is just provide a bit of a summary of what we're going to be talking about in the session today, and then give our speakers a chance immediately to come in and share what they're going to be talking about. So this is kind of who we've got with us today on the call. So my name is Chris Webb. I'm a Senior Employability Advisor with the Sheffield Hallam Careers and Employability Service. And I'm also joined by two of my colleagues, Charlie Brown, an Employability Advisor, and Rachel Leonard, Employer Partnerships Officer. So give us a wave, you two. They're here to join us today, again, to kind of just talk through, or with me, I suppose, kind of talk through the support that we've got available, and they'll be here with us on the chat as well, just to kind of answer any questions that you might have. So thanks, Charlie and Rachel, for joining us. Also joined by Ellie Gee from Grad Consult. So Ellie, do you want to come on and introduce yourself very briefly?
Hi, yes, I'm Ellie. I'm the project coordinator with Grad Consult. So my role mainly concerns...
Sorry, Ellie, I've accidentally muted you there. You just took yourself off. Spotlighting your video for everyone. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So I don't know when I come up, but I'm the project coordinator at Rise. So my role mainly concerns the candidate screening side. So I'm reviewing all the applications, taking the candidates through from submitting the CV and application question straight through to the assessment centres, and just being the kind of the first point of contact for any questions that we have. So yeah, please do get in touch if afterwards you have any questions for me.
That's great. Thanks very much, Ellie. That's perfect. We'll come on to Marina next, if that's okay. Marina, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Marina Larios, Director and Founder of Innova Consultancy, and I'm here to share our experience of using Rise candidates that have been employed by Innova Consultancy. That's
great. Thanks, Marina. Dominika, can I bring you in to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Dominika Takova. I'm a Hallam graduate, and I went through the Rise scheme to come to Innova Consultancy, and I work as a project coordinator.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dominika. And Rachel, last but not least, can I ask you to come in and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I am a fresh graduate from Rise. I joined Innova in August, and I am International Project Assistant.
That's great. Thanks, Rachel. And I know all of our speakers are going to be talking a bit more later, but just to give us a brief introduction is always really appreciated. So a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. In a second, I'm going to be handing over to Ellie from the Rise team to talk about kind of an introduction to the Rise programme. We're then going to talk a little bit about, just very briefly, about the current Rise vacancies and the application process. And also the support that's available from the Careers and Employability Service if you are a Sheffield Hallam graduate applying for the current vacancies. And we're then going to hear insights from some of our kind of Rise champions. So at Innova, we've got all the stages. We've got Marina as the employer. We've got Dominika as the slightly more seasoned kind of Rise graduate, and Rachel as a slightly newer Rise graduate. So there to kind of talk about their reflections about the Rise programme and what kind of being involved in that has been like. And then we're going to have time at the end for sort of questions and answers. What we would kind of request is that if you've got questions, keep them coming sort of throughout the session. That's because some of our speakers need to leave slightly before the hour's up. So it just means we can make sure that the relevant people who are here get the questions before they leave us. So again, if you've got questions as we go through, pop them in the chat, let us know. And we've also got some kind of frequently asked questions that we'll be going through towards the end of the session as well. But what I'm going to do now is pause the recording and pass over to Ellie, who's going to be going through our sort of overview of the Rise programme.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good to go.
Okay, so I'm Ellie from the Rise programme. I'm responsible, well, I'll go through it again, but I am responsible for the candidate screening side of things. So I'm just here to talk to you today about kind of what we look for in applicants, the benefits of Rise, and the application process. So what is Rise? So Rise is a business support initiative that brings together SMEs, so that's small and medium-sized enterprises, with graduates from all over the country. But we do have a particular focus on Sheffield graduates, and working with SMEs within the Sheffield City region. So there's a huge variety of roles with RISE. We've got things this year from obviously things with Innova, so the International Project Assistant, engineering, what else have we got? Recruitment, law. So it's a huge variety of roles, huge variety of businesses in the Sheffield City region. So that's not just isolated to Sheffield, the city, although the name suggests that it does, but it's also areas like Doncaster, Barnsley, Rotherham, Chesterfield. And this year we have 33 roles, so there's definitely something for everyone. And are a few different partners. So there's the two universities of Sheffield, the European Union, Sheffield City Council, and the Delivery Team Grad Consult, which is where I'm from. So for those that might not be familiar with what an SME is a small and medium-sized enterprise. It's a huge variety of kind of what an SME is. So it could be as small as maybe 1 or 2 members of staff, all the way up to 249 members of staff. So that is a big variety in businesses. And like I said before, it's not isolated to any sort of sector or any sort of role. It's just mainly the size. And in the Sheffield City region, we've got a huge variety. And there's loads of benefits to working with an SME. RISE was kind of created with knowing that graduates typically did tend to look for roles kind of in the big firms, but there's actually so many benefits of working in an SME. A couple of them is less hierarchy, obviously because it is a smaller company, and more variety in the role, often that being kind of maybe 1 of 10, 1 of 100, you do tend to have a lot more exposure to the business as opposed to going into a big firm of 1,000 people plus. With this comes a high level of responsibility. And it is also easier to see the impact that you have on the business. You know, you could be working with one team one week, another team the next, and you start to see kind of the impacts and where your skills can be appreciated. With this, there's less bureaucracy, and like I said, with more exposure, some people do experience faster progression and more flexibility. The types of skills that SMEs want in a graduate. So obviously they can appreciate that, you know, graduates are at the very start of their career. You're definitely not expected to have, you know, a vast range of kind of professional experience and industry experience. But there's so many skills that graduates bring, and that's what SMEs want in a graduate. So hard work and determination, new ideas and innovation, proactive in seeking development opportunities, you know, showing initiative and showing that you're eager to learn. But you can work independently, you can take ownership of your own work, but also work well in a team, and that you can be customer focused and business focused. So this is kind of the competency matrix that we look for at RISE. This was actually developed from research that we did with SMEs of what they want in a graduate. So it's the 4 main: drive, business focus, teamwork, and professionalism. So with drive, I think for graduates, this is kind of showing that you are eager to learn, that you can, you know, pick things up quite quickly. You're keen to develop yourself, you're keen to develop with others and in a team, and that you can just show initiative and kind of get involved with anything and everything. Teamwork, I know that's one that I'm sure you will have heard of a lot throughout university and in applying in other jobs perhaps. It is quite self-explanatory, but I think as you move into kind of a work environment, it's showing that you can work with kind of a variety of colleagues, variety of different skill sets, experiences, and you can just do it well and confidently and kind of contribute as well, and you know, show what you can bring to a team. Professionalism, this is a key one. Obviously, you're moving out of the university environment. For some of you, it may be the first kind of full-time role that you've had. So it's just showing that you can have that kind of, that you can conduct yourself in a professional manner. For the application process, this is kind of the way that we look for in assessment centres, kind of your written communication and your verbal communication. So for things like the video interviews, this is kind of where you could really highlight that professionalism. And finally, business focus. So this is definitely key for SMEs. Often, especially with a very small SME, you know, if it's less than 10 people, the founder and the director might have a very personal investment and they might still be working in the business. So it's really important to show not just your skills, but also kind of what brings you to that business, why that business, what are you interested in that they do, and how can it be mutually beneficial. So with business focus, this is actually something that we look for in the initial application question. So when you come to apply, you will submit a CV. Most roles you will submit a CV and you'll answer a question about the business. And this requires a lot of research, not a lot, don't want to scare anyone, but it does require research, and we really do value kind of you being able to demonstrate that you can do this. Obviously, many of you will have done research at university, but it's kind of important to understand and to demonstrate that you can do this about the business. So it's kind of looking at their social media, company blogs, industry news, and showing that you really know what the business does, you know, who their clients might be, kind of what that would mean and how you would understand your role in that business. Again, this is definitely not to scare anyone. RISE and SMEs know that you're not expected to have extensive knowledge of, you know, other business and have years of experience. It's definitely not about that, but it's about showing that you understand the business and that you're really keen and passionate to be involved in that business specifically. And for the application, we kind of try and put emphasis on this as much as we can, because this is kind of what we would consider in putting you through to the video interview or not. But yeah, we just want to hear your ideas mainly and show that you are passionate about the business. Okay, I'll stop saying business now. Right, so with RISE, there are a few different routes. So this is just a little visual to help describe this. So the main route is this one. So you'll submit an application question and a CV. For Sheffield Hallam, you can get this on Handshake, so you can just follow the links through there. So the application question is the business one that I've just discussed, and the CV. So I think application question is maximum 1,000 characters. CV tends to be about 2 pages. And I'm sure Chris will go through it a little bit later, but there'll be loads of resources to help you put together a really good CV and kind of demonstrate or show kind of the key skills and the key qualities that we're looking for. If you are successful at this stage, you'll be invited to complete an online video interview. So this is you'll get a link to a program online, and you complete 4 questions. You do have time to practice before if you want to, but it is all pre-recorded. It is all recorded. So when you do come to do the video interview, you do only have one chance at it. Yeah, there's plenty of time to practice. There's plenty of time to prepare. And we just wanted to kind of hear more about you and your experiences and your key qualities. After the video interview, if you are successful, you'll be invited to an assessment centre. So this tends to be about 10 to 15 people per role. At the assessment centre stage, you're not necessarily with people that are going for the same role as you. It tends to be all different. We've got 33 roles, so it could be, you know, 6 completely different roles, because you tend to be in groups of 6. But I think this is a really good element of the process. It's definitely not competitive. We just want to see how well you work in the team, your professionalism, and there would be a business focused question as well. So it's about an hour of a group work, and I think it's about an hour of written task. And that's all online as well. And you'd be sent a link and kind of talked through that. And then finally, if you get through the assessment centre, you'll be invited to a final interview with the employer. So up until this point, it's the delivery team at Grad Consult and the RISE team that deal with all of that kind of go through all the application. So this would be the first opportunity to be in contact with the employer directly. It tends to be about 4 to 6 candidates per role. Again, this does vary. And I think it tends to be about an hour final interview, in person or online. Again, depends on the business. And if you are successful at the final interview, you'll be made an offer. And for this cohort, start dates either December or January, again, depends on the business, but that would be kind of communicated close to the time. So that's the main route. We do have another route, which is more technical focused. So same as the first one, in that you submit a CV and an application question. Again, online, the links are on Handshake. And if you are successful, and be invited to complete a technical test. So instead of doing the video interview and assessment center, this is for businesses and employers that want to just double check and kind of test your technical skills. So it might be for roles that do a bit more engineering, maybe a bit more IT focused roles. You can't pick to skip the video interview, but it will be made clear at the application stage which one you'll be doing. And again, if you get through after the technical test, final interview, and then hopefully an offer. And this year we do have one more route, which is slightly different. All the links are on Handshake again. And again, it is very, very clear which one it is. So definitely don't be worried, don't be concerned that you need to know, you need to take responsibility for that. You definitely don't. We'll make it clear to you which route it is. But the other route would be that you submit a CV and a cover letter directly to the employer, and then they will take you through that process. But yeah, if you do have any questions about kind of the application route, please do ask either after this session or feel free to email me. That's fine. So the key recipe for success, I would say, is obviously sourcing a suitable role, something that you're interested in, you genuinely are passionate about, because especially with SMEs, the businesses have invested them a lot personally, and they will know if you are actually interested or not. And obviously you want to make sure that you're going for something that you want to be interested in and you value. And research, I think this is a really key one, not just for the business question, but just in general with any application. It's really important to know the business and know the industry, and kind of what it would require of you. Making yourself stand out, especially with the video interviews, I think trying to bring in as much other experience. Everyone that goes through the RISE process will have been to university. So if you can bring examples from outside of university, maybe volunteering, societies, part-time work, I think that would really make yourself stand out. And preparation work. Again, similar to research, I think the best thing is to get in touch with your career service. Obviously, I know Chris will talk you through this in a sec. But they've got so many great resources that can really help you prepare. The key to being successful in any application process, and definitely the RISE application process. So for the dates for this RISE, you've got 3 weeks from today to apply. So the jobs did launch today, so definitely check those out on Handshake. Up until the 7th of November, you've got time. The week commencing the 8th of November, I think at the moment it's probably, I think the first assessment centre is about the 10th of November. They run for 2 weeks. And then after that, if you're successful, you'll go to final interviews, again, over 2 weeks, the 24th and the 3rd of December, but that will be communicated to you close to the time. I think everyone applying this year will be graduates, but if you're not actually a graduate this cohort, we do have other cohorts next year to look out for. So we've got one in kind of February to April time, again, for graduates, but another one, I think it's May, June, July time, which would be perfect if you're in your final year looking for graduate roles for next year. So definitely keep an eye out if you're not available for this cohort. And these just our details. We are on all the social medias, obviously not TikTok because I won't subject anyone to us hunting, and that's my email if you want to send me an email after the session. So I think that concludes my presentation.
So what we're going to do is mix things around a little bit. We're just going to hear from our kind of RISE sort of alumni and employers first, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about the RISE application process and the support available from the Careers and Employability team at Hallam. So what I'll do now is kind of pass over to Rachel to share her screen, and then we'll restart the recording.
So thank you, Chris, for inviting us. My name is Marina Larios, and I'm the founder and director of Innova Consultancy. I'm originally from Mexico, and I think that's important to mention because I came many years ago to study at Sheffield Hallam University as a student. So I have really very good memories of my time there. So what we do at Innova, it's about celebrating diversity. Can you go to the next one, please, Rachel? And we all about as well the process of change. We know that when we start a career, when we move to another country, where for some women and men going back to work after paternity leave or maternity leave might be something daunting. Setting up businesses or trying anything digital, we know that it is quite daunting to undertake that step, and that's what we're all about. We're based on our work is based on projects. Next one, please. So what we do is our birthday is this year. We're turning 20 years of age. We have developed more than 120 projects across, as you can see in terms of the map, at an international level. And that's what is the most exciting part of our work, I think, is being able to work internationally with all kinds of organizations, from universities, companies, NGOs, governmental bodies, and entrepreneurs. Next one, please. So we also have an office in the Netherlands, and we have an office in Mexico, Peru, and Uruguay as well, and Bolivia. And the work that we do is to promote education at an international level. So the staff and the team that we have in all those countries are able to, of course, share experience and learn from each other, because we'll have very different backgrounds in the team. So what we offer at Innova is we can offer work experience via different student projects. We work with Hallam University very closely for the different initiatives that they have for 100 hours or Santander, etc. So we can do that. We do offer placements via the programs such as RISE and jobs, of course, through RISE. And we have been doing it for a couple of years, and we're going to be talking about our experience. And also because we work with funding bodies, we are able to provide subsidized, in this case, free training programs and events to students and to members of the public. So why do we use RISE? I think our experience has been fantastic. RISE has been able to provide us an opportunity with very talented graduates. I think the assessment center that they go through is really great, because the graduates that then afterwards we have access to are just amazing. So we, as an SME, that saves a lot of time for us, and we're able to, spend more time with the candidates than going through another assessment center. So that has been really, really good. Plus all the team in RISE, from Hallam University to the council and Grad Consult, have been extremely helpful. Chris asked me to offer you some top tips from an employer perspective. Something that is great that RISE asks you to do is to do a little bit of research about the company you're going to be applying for. That is crucial. I think not only because it shows us that you have been doing your research, but also you want to work for an employer that will be able to match your talent and your passion. So very important that you do that research. You also have to think about, do I want to work in that company, and what are the values compared to my values? Make sure your social media channels are professional. What we tend to do as employers, we always try to check you out in LinkedIn, try to see what you're doing on Facebook, because that talks a lot about your professionalism and your interests. We were talking about previously, some of our colleagues, about how important it is to show that commitment and professionalism, very important throughout. So if you've been asked to come for an interview, reply and say, yes, I can confirm I'm coming. If you are going to be running late, just let us know. So professionalism is something very important, and you will see throughout your career that that is part of your brand. All the experiences that you have count. Either you have become a volunteer, you have traveled around the world and done some other interesting work. So everything you can show us about what really moves you, where your values are based, and what really you're passionate about is really important. For us as an employer, two things are really important: the skills and the knowledge. If you studied marketing or social sciences or human resources, of course, that knowledge is very important, but the attitude is crucial. To show that you have a can-do attitude is what really all employers are looking for. So I'll hand over now to Dominika, who is going to share with you her journey from RISE to Innova.
Thank you, Marina. So hi, everyone. As I said, my name is Dominika, and I'm a psychology graduate from Sheffield University. And now I'm studying part-time at the University of Sheffield in psychological research methods with advanced statistics. Now my role at Innova is part-time, and previously I was full-time. And I started at Innova Consultancy in 2019 after finishing at Hallam University. And at first I joined as an international project assistant, and since then I've recently finished my role as an international project officer. So that's just like a screenshot from my LinkedIn. And now I work as an international project coordinator. So the work that I mainly do is focus on European funded projects, and this includes training and coaching programs in areas of entrepreneurship, employability, career development and well-being, as well as a focus on diversity and equal opportunities. And partly the reason why I applied with RISE was because I was really passionate about those topic areas. So at first, when I was in my third year of university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, or I had so many ideas about what I wanted to do. I didn't think there was a role that would fit everything. But then I saw the role advertised at Innova through RISE, and I realised that it really does fit my interest. So I decided to apply. And I chose RISE because the staff are extremely helpful for the application process. So they offer a lot of workshops to help you with the different stages of the recruitment. So as it was mentioned before, for example, the assessment centre. So I've actually never done one before my role at Innova. And I went to a workshop to find out a bit more about what an assessment centre is and how to do well. And with that help, I was able to get through to the next stage. And another reason I chose RISE was that they open up opportunities to work in SME in the first place. And this offers such interesting roles that you might not see on Indeed or LinkedIn or wherever you're looking. And you can learn a lot of new skills and work in a small, close-knit team. Thank you, Rachel. So my time at Innova has been really, really interesting. Here are some pictures from the travels that I've done in Europe. So I've worked with over 40 partners across Europe on a range of topics such as creative arts, gender equality, and reducing discrimination and bias. And my role is quite varied as well. So it's got some marketing, report writings, a little bit of training, which I'm getting into currently, but also things like development of training and coaching materials, which really fits with the psychology side of things. But also I am involved in finance and evaluation, but the list doesn't end there. So it definitely keeps you on your toes and makes things really interesting. And I've enjoyed working at SME because it's supportive, close-knit, and offers an opportunity to be creative. And my time at Innova so far, I've also been able to travel to places like Italy, Greece, Belgium, and Iceland, and hopefully more places once COVID allows. So yeah, these are just some more pictures of me at Innova. So this is a picture of me in a volcano with some Italian partners in Iceland. And in another trip, we actually got published in a local newspaper for the work that we're doing across Europe. So it's really meaningful work that we do at Innova. And some of my top tips for graduates who are looking for a job is kind of what Ellie mentioned earlier, is applying for jobs that you're actually passionate about and put time and effort into these applications, because I think it can come across if you apply for many, like hundreds of jobs and you're not really passionate about the cause. And also another tip is if you get a bit nervous during an interview, just try some simple breathing and meditation techniques. I think this is useful as well for the video recorded interview through RISE. Just doing a bit of breathing if that's something that gets you a bit anxious to get you through. Number 3, if you're unsure how to prepare for interviews, there are opportunities at Sheffield University to practice these techniques, which were really, really helpful. Number 4, if you're unsure about what to do next, book an employability advisor meeting. So this is what I did, where I sort of went in with someone and I spoke about all my different interests, and they helped me see it from a different perspective as well. And number 5 is ask around. So if you know someone who's working at the organisation you're looking at, and you see them on LinkedIn, for example, you can always connect with them. People are really happy to help and answer any questions. Or if you already know someone going through the RISE process, just drop them a question. So I'm here to answer any questions if needed. And the last thing that I would like to mention as well is that we have the sign up form. So if you are interested in gaining work experience at Inova through RISE and you would like to hear a bit more about our training events and opportunities, you can sign up here. So I'll put that in the chat box. And yeah, if you want to ask us any questions, feel free, or if you're interested in work, we can always redirect you to RISE for any opportunities that they have currently or in the future. Thank you. So I'll hand over to Rachel now for her experience at Inova Consultancy.
Thank you, Dominica. Sorry, you'll have to forgive me. I've got a bit of a cold, so my voice is very croaky. So I applied to Inova via RISE whilst finishing my master's degree, and I completed the online application and then the interview and the assessment centre. I actually found the assessment centre to be a really positive experience. I know I'd done quite a few by this point, and I was very nervous for it, but actually I felt like it wasn't designed in a way to be in any way competitive, and it felt natural, and I kind of saw it as a good way to network with other graduates. So it was actually one of the best experiences I've had with an assessment centre. So yeah, overall my experience with RISE has been really positive. I attended a RISE graduate training course, I think a month in of my working with Inova, which was another opportunity to meet other RISE graduates and network, and I felt supported throughout the process. And yeah, I've been working with Inova for about 3 months now, and each day I feel as though I'm continuing to learn and develop new skills. Yeah, so and I applied with RISE because basically I fell in love with Sheffield whilst a student, and I didn't feel ready to leave the city where I had made so many amazing connections and memories. And I wanted to give back to the local community as part of that. And I had previous experience kind of volunteering in the charity sector. So I kind of felt as though I had some transferable skills. And I felt that Inova's ethics, which I found via RISE, aligned with my own, and I was really excited to be able to continue to support the people and develop my skills and confidence. And importantly, I think I was really attracted to RISE because of working with a SME. What was important to me was making personal connections, and I wanted to feel supported throughout, which I definitely have. So what's it like working at Inova? So I will say that no day is the same. Some activities that I've been involved in is report writing, taking minutes in meetings, writing agendas, planning activities and helping to coordinate workshops, researching, that's just to name a few. And despite the online delivery of our work, I feel like I've made really valuable connections. Here's a picture from a meeting with some of our European partners. And I felt supported by both the RISE team and my colleagues at Inova to progress in the areas that I feel passionate about, but at the same time I'm encouraged to challenge myself and step outside of my comfort zone, which I think is really important. So my top tips for applying with RISE, I would say, and I think we've all kind of echoed this, but do your research, look at the competencies that the job requires from you. And I think what's important is to think about how you can evidence these. For example, teamwork is a quality that many SMEs will look for. And I think it's important to think about the specific examples that you have that highlight this quality. Show you're passionate. I think that comes from showing like what specifically you like about the job. For example, can you find any like research that the company has been a part of which you found interesting that you could maybe reference? Thirdly, think about your transferable skills. As Marina mentioned in her presentation, I think it's important to think outside of the box with your experiences and your skills. So from volunteering, or if you've been involved in any societies whilst at university, or sports teams, they're all valuable, important, and show something about you and show about your character and your personality, which I think is definitely important when doing interviews. For the interview side of things, I think it is important to practice saying your answers out loud. And I know it can kind of feel a bit awkward and embarrassing doing this, but it was the thing that really helped me. Ask a friend or family member to just go through it with you. And the more you do it, the less embarrassing it feels. And it does actually really help. And then finally, this is something that I was told in unsuccessful interviews to work on. Situation, task, action, result, STAR technique. And this is just to help you sort of structure your answers, especially when you're like kind of referencing an experience or provide an example of something. If you really like, you sort of bullet point that out and you can plan that while you're practicing. I think it's definitely a helpful tool. So yeah, that was all from me. But if you could want to keep up to date with our work, if you follow us on all these social medias, we're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Eventbrite. And if you haven't already, if you could just fill in that Google form that Dominica mentioned earlier, that would be really great. And sorry, lastly, an upcoming programme that you may be interested in from us. This is a free event which aims to tackle the negative repercussions of an overconsumption of digital media. And from a former student, I think I'm very aware of how difficult it's been online learning, and then you kind of reach for your phone at the end of the day after being on a screen all day long, and digital fatigue is very rife, I feel. And this event will help provide you with some practical tips and guidance on how to combat digital exhaustion and create a better relationship with digital media. And you can find the link to that through our Eventbrite. Here.
Fantastic. So yeah, thanks very much to all of our speakers so far. We're going to be keeping them on until the end of the session and kind of coming back for some questions. But just before we do that, we want to kind of just go through again that RISE application process and the RISE support that's available for Sheffield Hallam graduates who might be applying for these roles, just so that you've got an awareness of what's there and what you can access over the 3 weeks that you've now got to apply for the RISE roles. So one thing that's kind of really worth mentioning is that there's a huge amount of support that's available from the Sheffield Hallam careers team whilst you're going through the application process. Thankfully, Dominica and Ellie and everyone's also referenced, using that careers support. So it's, again, thanks for the plug to everybody there. In terms of kind of what this support looks like, we've put together kind of a crib sheet with all of the information on, just to make things slightly easier. And what I'm going to do in a minute is share my screen and show you where you can see that attached to all the different vacancies that are available. We've also got some bespoke sessions coming up next week and the week after. So again, all within the kind of application window. And these are kind of sort of Q&A drop-in sessions with myself and Charlie Brown from our careers team to kind of just answer any questions you might have as you go through the application process. So this is a bit of an overview of what's happening. And I suppose what the drop-in sessions are for is more of a kind of an in-depth thing. If you've got very specific questions as you're going through the application process, we can support with those over the next 2 weeks. So all of those are available to sign up for on Handshake, which is what I'm going to show you in a second when I share my screen. In terms of the RISE vacancies, as Ellie mentioned at the beginning, these are all available now. You can find these all on Handshake and on the Prospects website as well. So I'll talk in a second about if you're a graduate and you've not accessed Handshake, there might be a bit of a delay in waiting for your account to be validated. So just rest assured that you can also apply through the Prospects website as well. And I'm going to show you both of those in a second so that you've got oversight of what they look like and how you can find all the roles. As the Innova team mentioned, one of the roles available this time is with their organisation. So I wanted to maybe perhaps bring Marina back in just to perhaps give us a bit more detail about your specific role that you're advertising through the current RISE cohort.
Thanks, Chris. It will be exactly the same role as Rachel, and it is to support us throughout our projects, from research to attending training to attending transnational meetings, helping us with our social media campaigns. I think that's a beautiful thing that I have always loved at my work, is that, like Rachel and Dominica said, not one single day is the same. So the variety of meetings and working internationally as well gives you a lovely perspective about what other organizations are doing at an international level.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Marina. So do kind of keep an eye out for that role. We're going to kind of show you all of the roles on Prospects and Handshake in a second, but do look out for the RISE one, the Graduate International Project Assistant role. Really, really interesting role. And hopefully the talk from Innova has kind of, sort of inspired you to have a look at that in a little bit more detail. So what I'm going to do is just pause the recording now. I'm going to move on to screen share, and I'm going to show you again where all of the support that we offer is kind of stored, and also how you can access all of the vacancies through the Handshake platform and through the Prospects platform as well. Okay, so we're back on the recording, and this is Handshake. So for those who've not seen Handshake before, if you're on here thinking, what on earth are we talking about? This is our new jobs platform for the university at Hallam. Now, if you're a graduate and you've not had access to Handshake before, there's a link that I'm going to share on the PowerPoint which shows you how to set up an account. You can set up an account for free, you can link it to Sheffield Hallam, and then our alumni team authorize it, which is why I say it could take a few days if you've never had an account before. This is kind of what Handshake looks like. It's both a web platform, and you can have a mobile app for it as well. Underneath the jobs section, you'll see that all of kind of the jobs that Sheffield Hallam advertises can be found on here. And if you go to the full-time jobs and you type in RISE, what you'll see is all of the RISE roles are here and kind of stored on the system. So you can go down and look at them all in detail, all 33 of them, or there's kind of a general sort of overview of RISE, which sort of tells you about the roles and kind of stores them all in one place, and tells you a little bit more about the scheme. You've got a full list here that Rachel's put together of all of those roles in one place, which is quite useful. So that's how you can find the RISE roles on Handshake. That will allow you to then apply sort of externally. But again, it also allows you to kind of save these and bookmark these, if you're looking at them in more detail before you actually start applying. You can apply for up to 3 roles with the RISE program. That's something that's worth mentioning. So again, out of those 33, you can apply for up to 3 of them, which obviously gives you a little, some options in terms of kind of what you might apply for. One thing that's really worth sort of remembering with, we've obviously got kind of Ellie here today from the RISE team, but actually RISE are also going to be at our Hallam Virtual Careers Fair later this week, which I'm going to show you in a second, where you can actually book one-to-one appointments with them to speak about the programme in more detail. So there's a lot of options to kind of find out more about RISE. So this is kind of one of the places you'll find the RISE roles. The other section is the Prospects website. Again, we've included a link on the PowerPoint slides. So if you go to the Prospects website, look for RISE and then look for all jobs, you'll have the full list of all the jobs on here. And again, you can apply through Prospects or through Handshake, whichever you've got access to. Obviously, we'd highly recommend kind of being on Handshake, because Handshake gives you access to lots of roles that Hallam will advertise as well. But if you're having trouble getting on there, you can apply on Prospects whilst you're waiting to have your Handshake account authorised. For the event section, it's really important to remember that, again, we've got the drop-in sessions coming up. So once again, if you look at events on Handshake, you type in RISE, you'll see our 2 drop-in sessions that we've got coming up, which you can book onto via the Handshake app. And again, that will just be online via a Zoom link. But you can also look at some of the events we've got coming up, the Virtual Careers Fair this Wednesday and Thursday. And again, you'll find that RISE are there as an employer. And what you can do is actually book sessions with them to talk about the programme in more detail. That's all kind of found via our Hallam Virtual Careers event on Handshake. Again, we mentioned about the support and the information that's available to sort of support you whilst you're looking for opportunities or applying for opportunities through RISE. Again, if we go back to those kind of RISE job roles, what you'll find under each one, and we'll just wait for it to load up. If we look at this first role here, as you scroll down, what you'll find is that we've actually got the RISE kind of applicant support crib sheet. So all of the information about the support we provide is going to be found on there. That includes a range of different things. So not just the drop-in sessions, but also one-to-one appointments with our employability advisors, which Dominica mentioned earlier, was quite useful during her process. Information about how to book onto practice interviews if you want to prepare for if you get to the interview stage. And also information and kind of short videos on sort of how to prepare for the different stages of the RISE application process, including video interviews, assessment centres, and any of the other stages that you might come across. So all of that information, including the dates, the important application dates to bear in mind, can be found on that information support sheet. And it doesn't matter whether you apply through Handshake or through Prospects, you will still find that information sheet on there, which tells you about all the support we provide and how you can get in touch with our careers team moving forward as you go through the application process. So everything on there, if you've got any questions at any point during the point that you're applying for RISE. Okay, I'm just going to pause. Okay, so if you've got any questions at all, do kind of put them in the chat. We have got some frequently asked questions, which we will get some answers prepared for, so we can attach them to the PowerPoint slides when they send them out to people who've attended this session. But we are a little bit short on time today, perhaps to kind of cover all of those in detail. So again, the drop-in sessions are really useful for picking up those individual questions that you might have about the scheme that maybe we haven't been able to cover today. But in terms of next steps, some key things to do: check out the RISE roles on Handshake or Prospects. Select up to 3 that you might want to apply for and make sure you're applying prior to the 7th of November. That's your deadline. And as I say, take a look at our careers and employability support sheet, see if you'd like any support with the application, and of course, connect with anyone that's been on the call today if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about their experience with RISE. Again, they've very kindly kind of shared their contact details, whether that's via LinkedIn or otherwise. So again, do reach out to any of our speakers if you'd like to find out a bit more about their experience with the RISE programme. And finally, I've just kind of included some additional details here. Ellie's shared her kind of information as part of the RISE team, but we also have Annie Gainsborough, who couldn't be here today, who's our candidate engagement manager for RISE. If you're applying to the RISE scheme, you will find that a lot of you will probably be hearing from Annie or in touch with Annie at some point during the process. So again, Annie's email's there, and if you have any queries about RISE, Annie's also a good person to contact. We've also included links here for our kind of graduate pages for the careers and employability team, where we talk about all the support that we can offer to graduates, and also the email addresses to get in touch with our careers team. So that's careers@shu.ac.uk for our general careers team. And then I've included my email on here as well for specific questions about RISE in relation to the Sheffield Hallam careers team. So all of the information on there, should you wish to access it. So that sort of brings us towards the end of the time that we've got for this session. What we'll do is we'll kind of hang on in case people have got questions. Please pop them in the chat, or alternatively get in touch with us through the contact details we've shared, and we'll pick these up at a later date. Or, as I say, attend the drop-in sessions that we've got coming up on the 26th of November and the 3rd of November with myself and Charlie, where again we'll be able to pick up any individual questions you might have. All of the slides from this presentation will be sent out sort of following the presentation itself, and the recording's also going to be made available on our Careers and Employability YouTube channel moving forward. So again, people can watch this back if they've got anything they want to look through in more detail. But what I'll do is I'll bring the recording to an end there and just say thank you to our speakers for joining us today. Give us a wave just in case you appear on the recording. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And if anyone's got any questions, I'll be staying on the call for the next 5-10 minutes in case there's anything we need to pick up.